Calvert. Calvert sets. Passes over to Hatton. Gives him the pivot to Beck. Back out to Calvert. 25-foot set shot. Good. Jerry Calvert hits from the outside. Ties the ball game 2-2. Michigan State swinging back to the attack with Pat Wilson in front court. Off to Quiggle. Here's Krigler stealing the ball. A collision and a foul is against Michigan State for blocking. It's on Jack Quiggle, who got the opening field goal after Krigler had stolen the ball. Quiggle may be hurt. His left knee. 40 Anderson, with his trainer, comes hustling off the Michigan State bench. Left knee of Jack Quiggle, leading scorer of the Spartans, is injured on the play. When we say Quiggle is the leading scorer, it's very narrow. Haddon is actually the leading scorer. Quiggle is second, but only 3 points back. Quiggle is on his feet, operating under his own power. Quiggle is remaining in the Michigan State lineup. John Krigler is on the Kentucky free throw line for one shot. 2-2 the score. 19-27 here in the first half. Krigler shooting, no good, right into the front of the rim, gets the rebound, drops it. Michigan State picks it up as Ferguson scoops it off the floor, gets to Quiggle at the free throw line. He takes a jump pass down to Green, who lays it up, no good. Tapped up, no good by Quiggle, then tapped in on the right side by Pat Wilson. Wilson's first field goal of the ball game puts Michigan State back in front by 2 points. Here's Calvert in front court now. Moving to the left, staying deep, down the side of Johnny Cox, takes it out to the top of the circle, and here's a jump shot that's good, but it is nullified. No good, as Johnny Cox is called for walking with it. Out of bounds to Michigan State down in back court. The Spartans have picked up 2 points on each trip, with the exception of the one where Krigler stole the ball. Here's Quiggle in front court, down the left side to Haddon. Jump shot, it's good. Larry Haddon picks up his first field goal. Michigan State leads 6-2. Jerry Calvert of Kentucky back in front court. Gives over to Vernon Hatton. He sets. Breaks off to the right on Quiggle. Hands to Krigler. Free throw line jump shot knocked away from him, but batted out to Calvert by Krigler. In the left corner to Cox, a one-bounce dribble. Passes out to Calvert. Calvert has hit one shot from the outside. That's Kentucky's only point. Here it is in the pivot to Beck. He takes a swooping hook. Good. Ed Beck hooks in Kentucky's second field goal, cutting the Michigan State lead to 2 points. Back in front court, Jack Quiggle of the Spartans moves to the left side, takes a screen from Haddon. Then passes back out to Wilson, down to Ferguson on the right side. Brings it out to the top rim of the circle to Quiggle from 25 feet. He misses. Off the rim to Haddon, pumps under the basket, and Calvert makes a beautiful block on a shot by Wilson. He picks it up in the right corner, fires it again. This one's way short. Krigler rebounds for Kentucky, and Ferguson beautifully ties him up from the rear. Ferguson of Michigan State, Calvert of Kentucky, Krigler of Kentucky, both stand 6'3". Lafayette is now leading Eastern by 4 points, 29-25, with 5 minutes in the third quarter. Here's the tap to Johnny Cox of Kentucky, who moves up in front court on the right side. Passes over to Vernon Hatton. Michigan State 6, Kentucky 4 here in this regional championship game at Lexington. Here it is to Calvert, to Beck in the pivot. He dropped it, tapped it out. Cox picks it up in the bounce, hands to Calvert. Over to Vernon Hatton. Beck playing out on the free throw line, gets a bad pass from Hatton right through his legs, picked up by Green of Michigan State. Fires a high one to Wilson, to Quiggle, moving down into the left corner for the Spartans. Set shot over Calvert is short, no good. Beck knocks it down, and the foul is called under the Michigan State basket. It goes against the Spartans. Personal foul is on John Green. Green's first personal of the ball game, and while we march the length of the court for the free throws, let's take 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Standard Oil Sports Network.
WVLK, Lexington, Kentucky. The time is 9:30.
Ed Beck of Kentucky has one shot coming. On the free throw line to shoot it. No good. Taken off by Green of Michigan State, who goes way high in the air to get it. Up in front court to Quiggle. Michigan State leading Kentucky 6-4. Here it is to Larry Haddon setting it up down the left side to Quiggle. Haddon goes through wide open as he gets by. Cox fouled him from the rear, trying to block the shot. It's the first foul on Johnny Cox. In the state high school tournament at Freedom Hall, Louisville, it is Lafayette 29, Eastern 25, after 3 minutes of play in the second half. On the Michigan State free throw line, Larry Haddon for 2 shots. He owns one of the 3 Spartan field goals. His first try is good. Kentucky's had 2 free throws, missed them both. Now here's Haddon's second shot good. Michigan State's back in front by 4 points at 8-4. Here's Jerry Calvert in front court to Cox on the left side. Double teamed, clears himself, gives over to Calvert down the baseline, shoots over Green, no good. Rebounded by Quiggle of Michigan State over to Ferguson. Up the way to Quiggle, moving in front court with Cox on him. Down the right to Ferguson. He's wide open from 10 feet and drops it up. No good. Green taps it in. That's the first field goal by Green. Michigan State leads 10-4. Here's timeout, Kentucky. Michigan State playing a methodical, destructive ball game against these Wildcats tonight. Kentucky has not been hitting. As a matter of fact, the Wildcats have been getting very, very few shots as Michigan State has completely dominated every phase of the ball game. 16 minutes and 15 seconds. It's still in the first half. Calvert and Beck each have a field goal for the Wildcats. Beck and Krigler have been on the free throw line, but each has missed. Michigan State has picked up 4 field goals. Quiggle, Green, Hedden, and Wilson hitting, with Hedden adding a pair of free throws when he was fouled by Johnny Cox. So that makes the score stand 10-4. Michigan State is leading. And when we go back to play, it'll be Kentucky's ball at midcourt. Well, we have a lot of games going tonight. The game in Philadelphia between New York and North Carolina and Syracuse is underway. No score on that as yet. Of course, our championship game here is underway between Kentucky and Michigan State. They're just now getting underway in Dallas between Kansas and Oklahoma City, but out at Corvallis, Oregon, play has not yet started. Here's the warning horn, and it's back to play at Lexington, Kentucky. Jerry Calvert is out of bounds to put it in play for the Wildcats, who do not seem to have the spark tonight here in the early 3 minutes of play. Here's the pass into Hatton as we swing back to action. Into the pivot to Beck, breaks by, gets it returned. He's wide open and misses. Rolled in. Did Cox touch it? Johnny Cox may have touched it. Nope, the official score rules that Cox did not touch it, and Hatton gets the field goal to make it 10-6. Here's Ferguson on the right side for Michigan State. Passing back out front to Wilson, over to Hedden. Hedden spins it, moves to the left, gets a screen. Shot, no good, off the rim. As they go for it, here's another foul called under the Michigan State basket against Ed Beck. It's the first foul on Beck. Each team has committed 2. John Green is on the Spartan free throw line for 1. 16 minutes, 33 seconds here in this first half. Game just getting underway before an overflow crowd at the Coliseum. Standing room only on sale as Green's free throw is good. Michigan State moves out in front for 5 points, and a bonus shot coming to the 6'5" sophomore from up at Dayton, Ohio. Green, a two-hander right off the floor, hits, and Michigan State leads 12-6. The Wildcats trying to battle to get back even. Here's Krigler getting a bad pass from Hatton that draws him off the position when he was trying to break to the basket. It's out to Krigler, a 20-foot set shot, good. Calvert hitting from the outside, his second field goal. 12-8 the score. Michigan State with a 4-point advantage. Ferguson on the right side shoots one clear over the backboard that's picked up by Wilson, fed into Green, under the basket. Krigler cuts it off, then dropped it, and Wilson picks it up for Michigan State. Throws it out of bounds. Play getting very ragged there in a short stretch of about 5 seconds. Beck threw it in, but they're going to force him to come back and put it in again. The official wanted to handle the ball midway down the back court. So now Calvert to Hatton, moves it in front court. Fakes to the left, over to Calvert. Moves out, 25-foot jump shot, no good. Green of Michigan State's off with it. Out to Wilson, up the way to Hedden. Calvert knocks it down. Cox knocks it down and picks it up for Kentucky, and he's immediately fouled by Ferguson of Michigan State. That's the first foul on the Michigan State captain, George Ferguson. Johnny Cox is on the Kentucky free throw line. Michigan State leading 12-8. Timeout has been called by the Spartans. It's the first timeout in the ball game for Michigan State. So far, each team now has called 1 timeout. The latest score from Louisville. They're still in the third quarter there in the state tournament. Eastern and Lafayette. We'll have a score for you in just a moment. When we get ready to go back to play, Johnny Cox will be at the Kentucky free throw line. Cox and Krigler have neither scored yet. Here's the latest score on the state high school basketball tournament. Lafayette is still leading Eastern by 4 points, 37-33. There is now 1 minute and 15 seconds in the third quarter. Lafayette 37, Eastern 33. That's the score. Minute and 15 seconds in the third quarter at Louisville. Well, we've had each team call 1 timeout in just a little better than 4 minutes of play. That gives you an idea of the tremendous importance placed upon this game by each coach. Kentucky has 4 field goals. Michigan State has 4 field goals. But the Spartans have hit all 4 of their free throw opportunities, and the Wildcats have missed their 2, and of course not drawing the bonus shot, if not had the opportunity to get the other 2 points. Cox is on the free throw line. He's got 1 coming. Each team's got a sophomore in the starting lineup. Cox shoots, and it's good. It bounced 3 times on the rim, however, before dropping in. It pulls the Wildcats within 3 points. Cox has the bonus try. He sights, two-handers up and in. Michigan State 12, Kentucky 10. The Spartans have been on top all the way. Now here's Quiggle moving back up in front court for Michigan State. Passing over to Wilson, who comes out deep with Krigler on him. Fakes, breaks off to the left, gives over to Wilson, pulls up on the free throw line, passes to Hedden, turns, shoots over Cox, and it's no good. Out into the alley. Calvert gets the rebound for Kentucky. Comes out on a 2-3 break, drives off to the left, double team, slips and falls, and then rolls it out to Ed Beck, just coming in front court. Back over to Calvert, who sets it up now with a pass over to Hatton on the right side. Beck moves off to the right. Hatton moves down the right side, passes out to Calvert. Calvert is playing his last game here in Lexington. He's the only senior in the Kentucky starters. 30-foot shot by Hatton. Good. Vernon Hatton picks up his second field goal to tie the ball game, 12-12 for the first time. That's a run of 6 straight points for the Wildcats with 15 minutes here in the first half. Larry Hedden gives over to the top of the circle to Quiggle of Michigan State. Out it goes to Pat Wilson and the pivot to Ferguson. Spins to the left, falls away from Krigler and hits. Well, Ferguson, that's his first field goal of the ball game, and Michigan State's back in front, 14-12. Kentucky has not had the lead in this ball game. Vernon Hatton moving back in front court now. Passes in the pivot to Beck. Hooks right into the hands of Ferguson of Michigan State on a blind pass trying to hit Calvert. Hatton moves up in front court now for the Spartans of Michigan State. Down the left to Ferguson. Drives out on Krigler as Beck hits the floor under the basket, and a hook by Ferguson, no good. Slap to the outside. Hatton races for it. Ferguson takes it away from him for Michigan State on a beautiful play. He gives it now over to Pat Wilson, who moves back in front court. Passes into the pivot to Green, knocked down. Krigler takes it away from him. It's a 3-on-2 break with Hatton and Cox. Krigler pulls up, gives to Hatton to the right. Fakes, turns his back on Quiggle, and passes out to Calvert. Calvert in the pivot to Beck. A 15-foot hook's way short. Rebounding Krigler, knocks it up, no good. And Green takes it off for Michigan State. Throws a pass over to Wilson. Calvert knocks it down, but Wilson holds on. Michigan State leading 14-12. Here it is to Quiggle. Hatton lets him shoot, and the shot short. Taking it off is Calvert. Ferguson knocked it away from him, but it's picked up by Krigler. Ferguson goes for it. Krigler stops and hands to Beck. A one-bounce dribble and up in front court to Calvert now. Calvert moves to the right, flips out to Krigler. A 20-foot jump shot by Krigler's no good. Beck taps, and the ball's out of bounds. Goes out to Michigan State. Back in front court is Pat Wilson of the Spartans. Passing it over to Quiggle down the right to Ferguson, who's out deep. Into the pivot to Green at the free throw line. Faces Beck, moves to the left, and shoots. He's fouled by Johnny Cox, picking him up from the left side. No, check us. The foul is on Green, charging. John Green, the Michigan State center, has just been tagged with his second personal. Green in the pivot broke for the basket to his right against Ed Beck. When he got the half step on him, Cox picked him up, and it was Green charging. Johnny Cox was knocked to the floor, and he's on the free throw line for one shot. All the Cats have scored except Krigler. Cox with one coming. 13 minutes, 15 seconds in the first half. Cox hits. And with the bonus shot, he can tie this ball game up, which stands 14-13 for Michigan State at the moment. Cox sights. Two-handed free throws good. Kentucky 14, Michigan State 14. The second time the Cats have had it tied up. 12-12, 14-14 now. Quiggle in front court. Passes over to Wilson. Down the right to Ferguson. Quiggle goes through. Ferguson looks at Green coming out on the right side. The pass, however, is over to Hedden and moves out to the top of the circle. Pivots, looks at Green. A bounce pass to him. Green left open at the free throw line. Takes a jump shot. Good. Green pumps in his second field goal. Up in the front court now, Cox to Hatton. Over to Calvert. 30-foot set shot. It's short. Green rebounds for Michigan State. Man, that guy can jump. Here's Calvert knocking it away from Wilson, but it's picked up by Hedden. Michigan State leading 16-14 with Ferguson back in front court for the Spartans. Picked up by Hatton. Knocks the ball down between his legs, but Ferguson picks it up. Out to Wilson, in under the basket to Ferguson. Wide open, he lays it in. Ferguson with his second field goal, and Michigan State leads 18-14. These Spartans are really playing ball. Here's Calvert to Hatton in front court. Fakes from the outside, gives over to Calvert. Calvert pivots, spins to the right, gives over to Krigler. He's wide open, hooks it up and in. John Krigler gets his first field goal, cuts the Michigan State lead to 2 points. Ferguson back in front court for the Spartans, takes it down the right side. Passes over to Larry Hedden. He breaks to the right on Cox to the baseline, and his shot's in and out. Rebounding Krigler, drops it. Ferguson knocks it out of bounds, and they'll jump. Over at Louisville, with 6.5 minutes to go, Lafayette leads Eastern by 1 point. Lafayette 41, Eastern 40. 6.5 minutes to play. Ferguson and Krigler both 6'3". The taps to Calvert. Wilson almost knocked it away from him, but Calvert holds on. In front court to Cox down the left side against Ferguson. Pulls up with a hook. No good. Rebounding is Larry Hedden of Michigan State. Whips it out to Pat Wilson, moving in front court. Wilson setting it up out deep. Passes over to Larry Hedden. Cuts, breaks to the left on Johnny Cox. Fakes him, can't shoot. Takes a hook and walks with it. Ball is out of bounds to Kentucky. Michigan State with a 2-point lead. Coach Adolph Rupp holding up both hands, indicating number 10. Jerry Calvert looks over his shoulder as he moves up into front court to see. Down the right to Krigler, back to Calvert. Out to Cox, top of the circle, jump shot. It's good. Johnny Cox gets his first field goal and ties the game 18-all. Now another Michigan State player is hurt. This is Larry Hedden, limping slightly. He went to the floor, and the play in under the basket as Johnny Cox shot. And once again, 40 Anderson is out on the floor, the Michigan State coach. Kentucky has had it tied up 12-all, 14-all, and now 18-all, but has not been able to go ahead. 11 minutes and 9 seconds in this ball game in the first half of play. The officials calling the Kentucky players away from the bench. There was no timeout here, just a delay because of the injured player. Michigan State in possession under the Kentucky basket. Game tied up 18-all. Jack Quiggle of the Spartans back in front court, angling to the left side. Takes a 20-foot jump shot, and it's no good. Ball goes to Pat Wilson, who takes it on the bounce. Passes out to Ferguson. Whips over there to the left to Larry Hedden. Jump shot over Hatton is good. Beautiful shot. And the second field goal for Hedden makes it 20-18 in favor of the Spartans, as Kentucky still has been unable to take the lead in this ball game. Hatton passing to Calvert, back to Hatton on the right side, moves to the baseline, pivots, hands to Beck, back to Hatton. He's open from 20 feet. The shot's good. That's the third field goal for Hatton, and the ball game is tied 20-20. 5.5 minutes at Louisville. Lafayette now has a 3-point lead. It's 44-41. 5.5 minutes in that state tournament game, championship. Here's Michigan State attacking. Quiggle over to Pat Wilson. Quick jump shot over Calvert's in and out. Comes off the rim and slapped to the outside. Calvert picks it up for Kentucky. Now Kentucky, with the ball game tied up, has a chance to go in front for the first time. Here it is over to Cox, back to Calvert. Hatton comes out to set it up. Beck playing the pivot at the free throw line. Krigler playing up on the right side. Calvert moves to the left, a bounce pass to Cox. Break by Ferguson and drops it out of bounds, and Michigan State takes over. So Kentucky, for the first time in the game, got it tied up and had the ball and didn't get a shot. 20-20. Ferguson on the right side gives to Green in the corner for Michigan State. Out to Quiggle. Goes to the baseline on Hatton. Falls away from him and shoots into the side of the backboard. Then knocks it up in the rebound. No good. And Hatton takes it off for Kentucky. Passes it up to John Krigler, moving in the front court. The Spartans have got the defense set. Krigler goes through and lays it in. John Krigler moved the full length of the court to put Kentucky in front for the first time at 22-20. Quiggle back in front court for the Spartans. Whips to Green at the pivot. Breaks to the left. Fakes back out of the way and lays it up. No good. Knocked down by Krigler. Taken by Vernon Hatton, who's knocked to the floor. But he gets it out to Jerry Calvert, moving up in front court for the Wildcats. Out deep, setting it up now. The Cats leading by 2 points. First lead they've had in the game. Here's Hatton on the left side to Krigler. Moves out, gives to Calvert. Calvert breaks to the right side. Ferguson takes it away from him. Ferguson just stepped right out and picked it off. Now it's up to Jack Quiggle of Michigan State. High pass to Green and on the pivot at the free throw line. Back to Quiggle. Top of the circle. One-hander is in and out. Knocked up by Hedden. No good. Taken off by Beck. Taken away from him by Ferguson once again. What a game this fellow's playing. Here it is, knocked in by John Green. Third field goal. Goal counts, and there's a foul against Michigan State. It's against Green of Michigan State. And it's the third foul on Green. John Green gets his third field goal and third personal foul, all at the same time. 8 minutes, 40 seconds to play. The score is 22-22 as Johnny Cox goes to the Kentucky free throw line for one shot. Off the Michigan State bench, Bob Anderegg, A-N-D-E-R-E-G-G, Anderegg from Monroe, Wisconsin. 19-year-old sophomore who's 6'3", weighs 195, averaging 9 points a game. He scored 207, had 14 last night against Notre Dame. Johnny Cox free throws good, and Kentucky's back in front by 1 point. A bonus shot to the 6'4" Kentucky sophomore. Cox stands in. Two-hander from between the knees on the bonus try. Good. Kentucky has another 2-point lead, 24-22. Now here's Pat Wilson in front court for the Spartans on the right side to Ferguson. Gets away from Krigler, moving down the right side. Calvert comes out to knock it away from him and out of bounds. Michigan State will put it in play to the right over the basket, over to the right of the basket. John Green gets it, taps it up, no good. Beck takes it away, but it's taken away from Beck, picked up to the right by Ferguson, and as he jumps to shoot, he stepped on the baseline. Chekas, it's a 3-second violation. He couldn't get clear to shoot, and Kentucky takes over with a 2-point lead. Back up in the front court, it's to Beck in the pivot. He turns, pumps under the basket to Hatton, who lays it up, no good, but he's fouled on the play. Bob Anderegg just in the game, committing his first one. It's Quiggle that's out of the Michigan State lineup. Vernon Hatton is making his first appearance at the Kentucky free throw line. He's got 2 shots coming, and here's the first one. No good. 8 minutes, 7 seconds to go. Over at Louisville, 3 minutes, 50 seconds in the ball game, and Lafayette leads Eastern by 1 point, 47-46. Here's Hatton with his second try, good. And Kentucky has its longest lead of the game, 25-22. Back in front court's Pat Wilson of Michigan State. Down the right side to Ferguson, moves out to the top rim of the circle, looks into the pivot, passes in there. Wilson brings it out to the top of the circle, over the head, and here's a 15-foot jump shot, short, no good. Rebounding is Ferguson, hooks it up and no good. Rebounding Beck and Green together, and they'll jump. 7 minutes and 51 seconds in the ball game. Into the Michigan State lineup is David Scott, an 18-year-old sophomore from Detroit. 6'2", weighs 150. Pat Wilson goes out. Scott, 79 points, averaging 3.7 a game this season. Had 4 last night in Michigan State's win over Notre Dame. Beck at 6'7", dumping with John Green of Michigan State. The tap goes to Johnny Cox of Kentucky. Out to Calvert. Kentucky with a 3-point lead as Calvert moves back up in front court now, setting it up with a pass over to Vernon Hatton. He fakes to shoot from the outside, moves in, passes to Beck at the top of the circle. He hands to Hatton. Hatton moves out to the circle, then gives over to Calvert. Cox is in the pivot, and Calvert from 30 feet misses. Beck taps, no good. Calvert rebounds, under the basket. Hooks to Krigler, who has to fight to hold on. Passes in the left corner to Cox. Turns his back. A hook shot, good. What a tremendous hook that was as Johnny Cox hooked it out of the left corner. Kentucky 27, Michigan State 22. Longest lead of the ball game for either team as Larry Hedden drives down the middle, charges into the back of John Krigler, and a foul on the play against Larry Hedden of Michigan State. Larry Hedden just drawing his first personal foul of the game with 7 minutes and 12 seconds here in the first half. Kentucky 27, Michigan State 22, and one of the fine ball games of the season. One shot to Kentucky's Johnny Cox. Cox is a top man in scoring with 10 points. Crowd still buzzing over that hook shot, which Cox took out of the deep left corner. Now his free throw, good. Into the Michigan State lineup, Jack Quiggle, who started at guard, coming back in, and Larry Hedden is going to come out this time. Johnny Cox is on the Kentucky free throw line for a bonus shot. Coach Harry Lancaster yelling something off the bench, the full length of the floor. Jerry Calvert signaling that the defensive assignment has been made to Johnny Cox, who's on the free throw line for a bonus shot. Cox checks Hatton to make sure they understand it, and his bonus shot, good. Kentucky 29, Michigan State 22. Back into front court, Jack Quiggle of the Spartans. Passes her over to the right side to Scott, down to Ferguson, out to Scott, top of the circle, in the pivot. Pass goes in there, and here's Anderegg with a hook shot, no good. Beck knocks it down. Hatton picks it up, hooks a high one to Calvert, working in front court. Over to Cox, lays it up, no good, rolled out. Johnny Cox shaking his head as though he thought he had it. Here it is to Michigan State attacking now from the right. Anderegg, jump shot, good. Bob Anderegg gets his first field goal of the ball game to cut the Kentucky lead to 5 points. Jerry Calvert moving up over the midcourt stripe for the Wildcats. Watches Beck out on the pivot. Flips over to Vernon Hatton, who takes a 35-foot set shot, no good. Tapped by Beck, no good. Knocked down and taken by John Green, taken away by Krigler, who lays it in. John Krigler gets his third field goal. Kentucky takes another 7-point edge, 31-24. Back up in front court, Jack Quiggle of Michigan State now. Looks at Green on the pivot. Gives over. Here's a break for the basket by Scott against Calvert. A quick jump shot's no good, but a foul is called against Jerry Calvert of Kentucky. It is his first personal foul. Stops the clock with 6 minutes and 13 seconds to play. David Scott's on the Michigan State free throw line. 2 tries coming. Kentucky 31, Michigan State 24. Scott's in there to try the first one now, taking plenty of time. He's a two-handed shooter. He misses. The winner tonight goes to Kansas City to play the winner of tonight's North Carolina-Syracuse game for the Eastern Championship next Friday night in Kansas City. David Scott trying his second free throw. It's good as he used the backboard. 31-25 the score. Vernon Hatton gets the incoming pass from Beck. Up to Calvert. Moves it over the midcourt line. Comes to the right, gives to Hatton. High pass to Calvert under the basket. Knocked away by John Green of Michigan State. It's picked up by Anderegg. Gives over to Scott. Driving, hooking, no good. Bounces off, knocked up into the air. Scott goes for it, gets it for Michigan State, and Quiggle wide open lays it in for his second field goal. 31-27 now as Michigan State rattles off 3 straight points, and they move to within 4. 1 minute in the championship game at Louisville. Lafayette leading Eastern by 1 point, 51-50. Calvert from the outside misses, and Green rebounds for Michigan State. Out to Ferguson as the Spartans get the spark back. Down the right side, Beck picks him up as he goes into the right corner, passes out to Quiggle. Over to David Scott, top of the circle, down the left to Green, whips under the basket to Ferguson with Beck on him. Falls away with a shot that's no good. Rebounding Johnny Cox is fouled immediately from the rear by Bob Anderegg, committing his second foul, who slapped for the ball and hit Johnny Cox right on top of the head. 5 minutes and 23 seconds in the ball game's first half. Well, they've got a state championship game going in Louisville. Lafayette leads Eastern 1 point, 51-50 with 1 minute to play. Johnny Cox is on the Kentucky free throw line. 5 minutes and 23 seconds here in the first half. Cox has one shot coming. Kentucky has a 4-point edge. Cox free throw, good. A bonus shot now, and the ball will be in play. Cox is a two-hand shooter. Brings it down between the knees. It's good. Kentucky 33, Michigan State 37. Moving back in front court now, David Scott of the Spartans passing over to Quiggle. Down the left side to Anderegg, over to Scott. Shoots good, and he is fouled by Jerry Calvert. It's the second foul on Calvert, and the field goal by Scott is his first one. And he's on the free throw line for one shot. We've just had a report that Lafayette has just won the state championship. No score yet. Lafayette has won the state championship. We'll check on it. Get you the final score in an instant. Here's the shot, good by Scott. He gets a three-point trip, and Michigan State's within 3 points. Krigler of Kentucky moves into front court to the baseline, passes to Cox, moving to the right. Jump shot over Ferguson, no good. Taken off by Green of Michigan State. He shoots it out to Scott for a 2-2 break with Ferguson, and stops out deep. Pivots, passes to Ferguson. He's got Beck on him. Cox double teams as he gives to Green. It's a 3-second violation, and the ball goes over to Kentucky, leading 33-30. Here's Calvert passing into Vernon Hatton, moving up in front court. Down the left side to Calvert, to Krigler, back to Calvert. Outside to Cox, top of the circle, breaks to the left. Ferguson knocked it down. Cox goes out to get it. Takes a jump shot, no good from the top of the circle. Green knocked it down, and Cox fouled him. It's the second foul on Johnny Cox. Kentucky came a long way without any personal fouls, and suddenly they've picked up 3 quick ones, and Michigan State's been eating into the lead. Wildcats have had 2 7-point advantages. Right now for Michigan State, it's John Green at the free throw line, and he hasn't missed. He's hit 2 for 2. Now Green is ready. 4 minutes, 39 seconds in the half, and he hits. Now Kentucky's lead is down to 2 points as Green, 6'5" center, is in for a bonus try. It's good, but hold it. It is. They're nullifying the basket, and the centers will jump. Well, the centers are going to jump. We have never seen this decision made mechanically this way. When a free throw has been nullified for a foot in the lane, it always goes out of bounds to the other team. Here's the tap, goes to John Krigler of Kentucky, and the Wildcats have it with a lead of 33-31. Calvert standing with it in back court. Walks up now, 4.5 minutes to go. He gives over to Vernon Hatton, down the left side to Cox, back to Hatton, moves down the left side. Calvert goes through, pass to Krigler outside. Krigler over to Ed Beck. He breaks to the right, and here's a foul called. A 3-second violation on Johnny Cox it is. The ball goes right back to Michigan State. Foul against Charles Bensey, his first foul of the game. 8 minutes and 32 seconds to play. Michigan State owning a 3-point edge. Up to the Kentucky free throw line is Adrian Smith. He'll take one. Timeout has been taken. Michigan State. It's the second time out of the ball game for each team. Well, here's the scoring so far. Jerry Calvert has 14 points. Johnny Cox 17. Ed Beck 4. John Krigler 10. Adrian Smith 2. Vernon Hatton 11. Ray Mills 2. For Michigan State, David Scott has 5. Jack Quiggle has 12. John Green, who's out of the ball game, with 14. George Ferguson now has 12. Charles Bunsey has 3. Larry Hedden has picked up 8. And Pat Wilson now has 6. Kentucky was on top 47-35 at halftime. But the second half of the game has been completely dominated by Michigan State. Much more completely than was last night's second half by Pitt, which lost tonight by 1 point to Notre Dame. We are ready to go back to play in this championship game of the NCAA regional tournament. And Adrian Smith is on the Kentucky free throw line. He's the only Kentucky substitute that still remains in the lineup. The other 4 are the starters. Here's Smith shooting, missing. Dempsey rebounds for Michigan State. And the Cats, after having a real hot first half, 48.5%, while Michigan State hit only 26%, have begun to cool off even at the free throw line, where they've missed 3 out of 6 in this half. Michigan State's George Ferguson in front court, gives to Larry Hedden out deep. 63-60, the Spartans lead the Wildcats. Jack Quiggle takes it out deep with Adrian Smith on him. Bounce pass goes to Bensey out deep to the right. Whipped under the basket, and Bensey hooks, and Beck blocks out of bounds. Nice defensive play by Ed Beck as Michigan State gets it to the right of their basket over the baseline. They cannot work the play, though, since Ferguson's not in there now. It's almost handed in to Larry Hedden, who goes out to the triple screen, gives to Quiggle, and he takes a 20-footer that's no good. Beck rebounds short of the basket. Over to Jerry Calvert, up the way to Adrian Smith, moving in front court. Down the left to Cox, pulls up from 10 feet, and he missed it. Taken off by Bensey, and over to Ferguson, up the way to Quiggle. As Kentucky, unable to hit, is not getting the rebounds now, and the Spartans, with 7.5 minutes, have a 3-point lead. Here's Bensey turning to face Beck, passing out to Hedden. He takes a 20-foot jump shot that is off the rim to the right. Tapped by Beck, picked up by Johnny Cox, fed out to Adrian Smith, moving in front court. Smith moves into the right, pulls up, passes out to Cox from 20 feet. He missed it again. John Krigler gets the rebound. Outside to Johnny Cox. Cox is off and he's shooting now. Here's Calvert out deep, cuts to go down the middle and shoots her off to Cox at the free throw line. Over to Beck, and it's walking with it. No, 3-second violation by Calvert. And it goes over to Michigan State with 7 minutes to play. Vernon Hatton waits to get in for the Wildcats. Michigan State 63, Kentucky 60. The Wildcats have not been able to score, although the Spartans have been unable to score themselves. Here's Hedden in front court to Ferguson. In the pivot to Bensey. Outside to Pat Wilson. Breaks to the right off a screen. Jump shot's no good. Calvert knocks it down and gets it for Kentucky. Passes her out to Adrian Smith. Up the way to Krigler, moving in front court. The fans yelling for the Wildcats to get up and get going. Krigler, a bounce pass out to Smith. Setting it up now, giving to Calvert. He waves back off the pivot. Cuts, goes to the right, drops the ball out of bounds, and Michigan State takes over. Kentucky has almost completely abandoned team play and gone to individual play. Now here's timeout being taken by Michigan State, and it is their third timeout. Vernon Hatton checks in at guard for Adrian Smith. We have 6 minutes, 7 seconds to play. Michigan State 63, Kentucky 60. Well, we have seen it happen so many times this season, where Kentucky would be a sparkling ball club the first half and then just barely be able to make it in the second half. Coming into the Michigan State lineup, we have Bob Anderegg, and we'll have to hold up to see who he will be replacing. Johnny Cox of Kentucky, incidentally, is playing with 4 personal fouls. Michigan State lost their fine sophomore center, John Green, with 12 minutes and 18 seconds to go. In other words, it was a little over 6 minutes ago, and Kentucky still has not been able to get away from the Spartans, although they did it when Quiggle, or rather Green, after committing that 4th personal foul in the first half, was taken out of the lineup. Well, the Kentucky fight song, and the fans are all standing here to try to rouse these Wildcats into some action now. Kentucky is in serious trouble. Not that 3 points is such a tremendous margin, but Kentucky is not playing its brand of basketball at this moment. It's Michigan State's ball. Quiggle will be at a guard now as Wilson has come out of the lineup with Bob Anderegg taking over. Quiggle out of bounds. Passing into Anderegg, moves it in front court and back to Quiggle. Down the left to Hedden. In the pivot to Bency. Down the left to Quiggle. He's left open. He shoots no good from 20 feet. Krigler's got the rebound. Got a 2-2 break with Calvert. Pulls up as Ferguson tries to get it. The pass is over to Cox. Down the left to Hatton. He's left open. The shot, no good. Tapped up in the air, but Beck. Hatton lays it up, no good. Krigler taps. Beck taps. Beck taps. No good. And here's Michigan State getting a 2-on-1 break against Calvert. Here's a high pass knocked up in the air and out of bounds. It goes to Kentucky. Calvert a bounce pass into Hatton. 5.5 minutes to go. Michigan State still leading by 3 points. Hatton a high pass into the pivot to Beck. Outside to Calvert, moving down for a jump shot. Good. 8 field goals for Jerry Calvert, and finally Kentucky breaks the scoring ice, moving within 1 point. Wilson and Ferguson in front court for Michigan State at the free throw line. Passes right to Bency, who moves out, then passes to Hedden deep. Down the right side to Ferguson, facing Beck, and here's a jump shot, no good, off the rim. Tapped out to the outside, it's taken, and a foul is called against Kentucky. Hacking foul against Johnny Cox, and that's all of it. Johnny Cox fouls out of the ball game. Let's see who the foul is on. Cox is walking away, although the official score is not sure on whom the foul is going to be placed. Now it is number 24 being yelled to the scorer's table. And with 5 minutes and 3 seconds to go, Johnny Cox is out of the ball game with 17 points. Cox had 16 points in the first half, and here in the second half could get only 1 as his shooting eye completely left him. Well, Ray Mills is coming in to replace him. Michigan State lost John Green, tremendous man for them. Now with a score 63-62 in favor of Michigan State. Jack Quiggle will be on the free throw line for the first time in the game. Quiggle stands in for one shot. Two-hander from between the knees is good. And the Spartans take a 2-point edge. Kentucky had a 12-point lead at halftime. They've been outscored by 14 points now in the second half. Bonus shot for Quiggle, up and in, and it's 65-62 for the Spartans. Calvert moving back, passing to Hatton in front court. Passing over to Calvert, letting Beck settle on the pivot now as we move into the last 5 minutes. Pass to Beck, back to Hatton. He moves to the right, breaks under the basket and lays it up, no good. Tap deep to the outside. Beck races in and gets it just in front court. Handed over to Jerry Calvert, who sets it up again. Kentucky had a 48.5% shooting average in the first half, but they haven't hit this half at all. Here's Hatton on a screen with a 20-footer, good. For Vernon Hatton, that's his 5th field goal of the game. Kentucky has moved back again within 1 point, 65-64. We got 4.5 minutes to play. Up in front court, Jack Quiggle of Michigan State whips it to Bency on the pivot, back to Quiggle, jump shot, good from the free throw line. That's 7 field goals for Quiggle, who's hit 5 of them in this half. 67-64 for Michigan State with Hatton in front court. Beck going to the pivot, a double pivot with Mills, and Quincy knocks it down. Beck picks it up, lays it to Krigler. Krigler on the right side, passing out to Calvert, over to Hatton. Hatton faking to move, then does to the left. From 20 feet, he misses. The shot's off to the right. Bency rebounds. Mills picks it up and misses. Krigler taps no good. Mills rebounds with a foul on the play against Michigan State. George Ferguson has drawn his 3rd personal foul, sending Ray Mills to the Kentucky line with 1 shot. Kentucky had a lot of good taps under the basket then, but could not get it to drop. 3 minutes and 50 seconds to play. Michigan State with a 3-point lead. Mills shoots, no good, and Michigan State's got the ball as Ferguson gives a high pass in front court to Quiggle. Over to the free throw line to Bency, wide open, he shoots short. Mills rebounds, comes out of there with it, pulls up, and gives over to Vernon Hatton. Hatton in front court now, moves to the right, a collision with Quiggle, over to Hatton, he's wide open and lays it in. Vernon Hatton gets his 6th field goal, and Kentucky is within 1 point. 67-66 with 3.5 minutes to play. Ferguson down the right side for Michigan State. To Bency in the corner. Over to Quiggle. Out on the right side to Larry Hedden. Hands it over to Quiggle, who brings it back out front for Michigan State. 20-foot jump shot. It's no good. Ed Beck taps it out over the head of Calvert, and Quiggle picks it up for Michigan State, moves in and shoots up. No good. Ray Mills rebounds for Kentucky. Gives it over to Vernon Hatton. And with 3 minutes to go, Kentucky trails for 1 point. Hatton drives, and as he shoots, a whistle on the play. Hatton is walking with it, and Michigan State has the ball back. We're into the last 3 minutes of the ball game now. Michigan State 67, Kentucky 66. Here it is in front court for the Spartans. On the left corner to Bensey. Calvert takes it away from Hedden and then kicked it out of bounds. So that's twice Kentucky has had possession and neither time got a shot. There's an official's timeout as Quiggle of Michigan State seems to be hurt after slipping on the floor. They're calling for the Spartan trainer to come out and look at him. Well, Kentucky has had possession 2 times, trailing by 1 point here in the last 3 minutes of play, and they have lost the ball both times without getting a shot at the basket. Quiggle being examined now with the Michigan State trainer. We have 2 minutes and 38 seconds to play. Michigan State with the ball, leading 67-66. So this is a game that dead certain will go down to the wire. Quiggle is staying in the ball game. He's okay. Larry Hedden is out of bounds to put it in play. On the left side of the Spartan front court, the pass comes into Quiggle out deep near the dividing line. Picked up by Calvert. Flips it over to Larry Hedden. Michigan State just controlling the ball right now. Hedden bounces into the pivot to Quiggle with Calvert on him. He spins to the right. Picked up by Hatton. The shot's good. And it counts with a foul on the play against Kentucky. It is against Vernon Hatton of Kentucky. His first personal foul of the ball game. And Michigan State's out on top by 3 points with 2 minutes, 21 seconds to go. Quiggle has been the backbone of Michigan State with 6 field goals here in this half of play, 8 for the ball game. 1 free throw to go. Hit or miss, that's all he gets. It's up and it's good, and Michigan State now leads by 4 points. Here's Jerry Calvert moving back for the Wildcats in front court, passing over to Hatton. 2 minutes, 15 seconds to play. In the pivot to Beck, out to Calvert. Breaks to the right side, goes to the corner, down the baseline, under the basket. Bounce pass out to Beck, who takes a 20-foot shot that's no good. Tapped up into the air and taken by Michigan State as Bensey picks it off and feeds to Quiggle in front court. Quiggle moves in. Michigan State, as we will move into the last 2 minutes, owns a 4-point lead. Kansas beat Oklahoma City by 20 points tonight. Here is timeout taken by Michigan State. John Green came off the Michigan State bench and was going to report as the Spartans called timeout. Green apparently had forgotten that he fouled out of the game earlier. 1 minute and 48 seconds in this ball game. Michigan State 70, Kentucky 66. Here are the late scores. Kansas 81, Oklahoma City 61. 20-point victory for Kansas. Out in the far west, the consolation game is over. Brigham Young beat Idaho State 11 points. Brigham Young 65. Idaho State 54. Well, Kentucky had all the bright hopes at halftime with a 47-45 lead. Now, with 1 minute and 48 seconds to play, Michigan State leads by 14 points. They have outscored Kentucky by 16 points in this half, and Coach Adolph Rupp is going to change the whole lineup now. He's bringing in Abe Collinsworth and Earl Atkins. Lincoln Collinsworth is a 21-year-old junior from Salyersville, 6'3", weighs 185 with 27 points. Earl Atkins, a 23-year-old junior from Ashland, 6'4", weighs 180. Now the Big Ten champs, co-champs with Indiana, we should say, are ready to go. Vernon Hatton, Jerry Calvert remain in the Wildcats lineup, along with John Krigler. Kentucky is going to be warned by the official to go back to play since they didn't call timeout, and they're not coming back to play. Now they're finally released. Kentucky is in a critical condition, trailing by 4 points, and Michigan State has got the ball. Just 1 minute and 48 seconds to go. Out of bounds is Larry Hedden of Michigan State. Bounce pass goes in backcourt to Ferguson. He moves over the dividing line, over to Quiggle. Back to Hedden, wide open. He lays it in, and Atkins fouled him. And the goal is good. Man, Michigan State worked that one to perfection. Fourth field goal, and Michigan State goes in front by 6 points. And the field goal counts with Atkins committing the first personal. Now Hedden stands in at the free throw line. One shot coming. Well, Michigan State called timeout and worked the play, and man, it didn't look like a man was on the floor against them. The free throw's no good, but it's taken by Anderegg. Over to Quiggle, and now Michigan State, with 1 minute and 40 seconds to go, has got a 6-point lead. Well, is it hopeless? We'll soon know. Michigan State's going to freeze it. Larry heading down the left side to Ferguson. He's immediately fouled by Atkins, and that's the second one on Atkins. 1 minute and 27 seconds to play. This is Ferguson at the Michigan State free throw line. Ferguson has not missed a free throw. Standing up for one shot. Ferguson taking plenty of time. He shoots good. Spartans take a 7-point lead. Well, Kentucky has completely collapsed in the second half. They lost all their poise, quit running, and the Spartans ran back from 12 points back. They've outscored them 19 points in this half. Here's the second shot, no good. Knocked right back to Ferguson, out to Bensey. Back to Ferguson, over to Quiggle. Michigan State now leading 7 points, freezing the ball. And here Quiggle goes in, and Krigler blocks the shot out of bounds. Goes to Michigan State. 1 minute and 15 seconds to go. High pass comes deep to Ferguson. Whips in the pivot to Quiggle. Spins to the right and lays it up. It's good. Counts, and a foul against Calvert is his fourth one. So that one just about wrapped it all up. 75-66 for Michigan State. Quiggle, the man who has really done it to the Cats, picking up his 7th field goal in this half of play. Quiggle has a free throw coming, and he hadn't missed one in the ball game. 1 minute, 7 seconds to go as Quiggle shoots good. Michigan State has a 10-point lead. Ray Mills comes in. Coming out's Earl Atkins. By golly, believe it or not, Michigan State has come into this second half and beat Kentucky 22 points. That may not be a record, but by golly, it's a whale of an average against the Kentucky Wildcats on their home floor. Nobody's ever come close to doing this to a Kentucky team. Now here's the ball taken away from Kentucky as they put it in play, and Ferguson to Michigan State moves back in front court. This is the first time we've ever seen a Kentucky team just collapse on its home floor. Here's Ferguson hooking it in for Michigan State. His 5th field goal, and the Wildcats are completely demoralized now. 40 seconds to go, and they trail by 12 points. Calvert is fouled by Quiggle, stabbing for the ball and missing, and that's Quiggle's 4th foul. Kentucky had the lead when John Green, the big fine sophomore Michigan State center, fouled out. But even the loss of Green did not hurt Michigan State nor help Kentucky. Calvert is making his first appearance at the free throw line. David Scott waits to get in for the Spartans with 38 seconds to play, and Calvert misses. Michigan State takes it. Quiggle moving up the backcourt with it. Ball knocked on the floor. Timeout. 28 seconds to go. The Spartans apparently want to get their seniors in. Here's Harry Lux, Lux, who hadn't been in the tournament, getting in now. David Scott also coming back in. 28 seconds to go, and let's us take 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Standard Oil Sports Network.
WVLK, Lexington, Kentucky. The time in 15 seconds, 11 o'clock.
Well, back to the Coliseum once again, where we're winding up for the final 28 seconds of this ball game. A lot of Kentucky fans are heading for the exit, but most of them are sitting shocked as Kentucky, down by 12 points, came into this half with a 12-point lead. They have been outscored by 24 points in this half, and it may not be over. Out of bounds is Harry Lux to put the ball in play, 21-year-old senior from Chicago, Illinois, 5'10", weighs 150. The winner of this game, which obviously is Michigan State, will be playing North Carolina Friday night for the Eastern Championship. Now wide open, the shot's no good, and charging is called against Michigan State's Thomas Markovich, who's in the ball game. And there's tremendous jubilation down on the bench, Michigan State. 40 Anderson of Michigan State, when he was at Bradley with a tremendous team, was beaten in the Sugar Bowl, and he's grabbing Ferguson, slapping each other on the back, just waiting it for all to be over. Michigan State has given Kentucky perhaps the worst defeat of all times on its home floor in one half of play. Calvert shoots good. Michigan State waiting to break loose with tremendous excitement. Bonus shot good by Calvert, and it's 78-68. Michigan State by 10 points. Here's a whistle at the baseline. Goes out of bounds to Kentucky as Dave Scott stepped on the baseline. 19 seconds to play.
Ball never did go in.
Here's out of bounds play to Brewer, to Ray Mills, back to Brewer. From the left corner, he shoots no good. Taken out by Michigan State, Markovich. Passing out and up to Algareg in front court. 9 seconds, 8, clock on the move, hooked out to Scott, 5 seconds. Down the right corner, 3 seconds to go, and the shot by Lux is no good. And the ball game is over. The ball goes in, and it counts to make it 80-68, the final score. Final score, Michigan State 80, Kentucky 78. In one of the most surprising games, the public address announcer is asking Michigan State, who got the last goal. They really, frankly, don't care. They've just whipped Kentucky by 12 points here in the Coliseum. And the thing that makes it even more phenomenal is that to do it, they had to beat Kentucky by 24 points in the second half of play. Well, it's a unusual sort of ending to what looked like a tremendous start for the Wildcats based on first half play. Well, here it is. For Kentucky, Jerry Calvert ended up with a total of 18 points, 8 field goals, 2 out of 3 free throws. Johnny Cox fouled out, 5 minutes and 3 seconds to go, and 17 points. He had only 1 point in the whole second half. Abe Collinsworth in the ball game did not score. Ed Beck picked up only 4 points on a field goal in each half, and he missed 2 free throws, all that he had. John Krigler picked up 10 points on 5 field goals. He missed a free throw. Earl Atkins didn't score. 2 points for Adrian Smith, 2 out of 3 on the free throw line. 15 points for Vernon Hatton, 6 field goals, 3 out of 5 free throws. 2 points for Ray Mills. Johnny Brewer didn't score. For Michigan State, Harry Lux didn't score. David Scott picked up 5 points. Jack Quiggle picked up 22 points. He's the man that beat the Wildcats. He got 18 points in the second half. Bob Anderegg got 2 points. John Green fouled out with 12 minutes, 18 seconds to go and had 14 points, 5 field goals, 4 out of 6 on the free throw line. 15 points for the captain, George Ferguson, on 5 field goals and 5 out of 6 free throws. 3 points for Charles Bensey with a field goal and a free throw in the second half. Larry Hedden picked up 10 points, 4 field goals, 2 free throws. And Pat Wilson, 6 points on 3 field goals. Thomas Markovich in the ball game did not score. Kentucky led 47-35 at halftime and got beat 80-68. Well, we'll check over the presentation of trophies in just a moment. You know, it's a pleasure to trade where your business is appreciated and where you feel that you're a friend instead of just another customer. For example, when you drive into your nearby Standard Oil station, you can tell from the way your dealer greets you that he's honestly glad to see you. Glad that you're giving him the chance to serve you in your car. He enjoys his work and he's proud of the popular Standard Oil products he sells. He appreciates the opportunity to serve you with the motoring products you need and enjoys performing those important extras of cleaning your windshield, putting water in the radiator, and air in your tires. Stop by and get acquainted with your nearby Standard Oil dealer. He'll take better care of your car. Right now, the governor, A.B. Chandler, is making the presentation of the state, governor of the state, making the presentation of this regional trophy to Michigan State, which will move on as representative of this district, and they will be playing North Carolina Friday night. And those are the highlights from tonight's Kentucky-Michigan State game. And in losing, it ends the season for the Wildcats, who have posted a record of 23 wins and 5 losses, which is still far better than even Coach Rupp had dared hope for at the beginning of the season. This has ended the most unusual privilege, most unusual season in many years, with a team that really fought from many adversities. It's again for the 9th year been a great privilege to broadcast Kentucky football and basketball games for the Standard Oil Company, and right now we'd like to join with all the Standard Oil dealers throughout Kentucky, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and Mississippi in saying we certainly hope you've enjoyed all the broadcast, and we look forward to having you back with us on September 21st when Kentucky opens the football season in Atlanta against Georgia Tech. Tonight we'd like to thank our statistician Bob Cox and our engineer Copy McDonald. If you care to keep driving with care. Back the attack on accident. Now this is Claude Sullivan speaking from Memorial Coliseum on the campus of the University of Kentucky in Lexington, wishing you good night and a pleasant weekend. Your final score again, Michigan State 80, Kentucky 68. This broadcast has been originated for the Standard Oil Network by Lexington radio station WVLK. This is the Standard Oil Sports Network.